it is pressing the flesh that still makes us successful as humans in this country and globally.
All right, well, welcome back to the Funky Brain Podcast, everybody. My name is Dennis, and this is my Funky Brain. And once again, I have Mr. Miles Standish, the Vice President of NGC, Numismatic Guaranty Corporation. How are you doing today, Niles?
I'm doing great, Dennis. Thanks for having me on.
Sorry, I called you Niles.
It happens.
We've been in quarantine too long now.
Yeah, next you'll be calling me kilometers. We'll switch over to the metric system of names.
No, but it's Michael Miles Standish. And you can go with all of it or just Miles Standish, either way. Yeah, Miles is great. So before the show, we were just talking about business and how we were, because we're quarantined, and all of us, the whole world, we're not just being singled out here. We're all in this together. And I like bringing that part up early in the show here, just as a reminder that we're all in this together. But what we were saying is that we're staying busy. We're staying busy in this quarantine. It's not like, life has stopped. We're actually doing stuff. And so Miles was just telling me about some cool things that are going on in his world. Like, what's going on over there?
Well, people, there's an incredible thirst for silver coins around the globe. And, in our country, especially, the amounts of silver that is getting gobbled up in individual coins, bars, rounds, what I call the silver stackers are going wild for them, and coin collectors are buying them too. People, in turbulent times, people, seek hard money, just like gold and silver. And I know that there was a report put out that Goldman Sachs is obviously recommending gold, but there's 350 million of us in this country, and of the people that can afford to put any money in any hard asset, there's a larger population that can afford quantities of silver over a large quantity of gold. So silver is the first rush item. I know I work with several world mints around the globe. As an example, the U.S. Mint has had some interruptions, but they still are working. Their productivity is, they're trying to do the best they can under the circumstances. But some of the world mints are helping the demands get met for the supply of silver. As example, the Australia Perth Mint, they've already delivered probably in the last 3 to 4 weeks over 3 million ounces of silver to our country.
Really?
3 million ounces. Now, from the start of the pandemic, roughly, in the month of March, silver was over $17.50 an ounce. And, maybe your listeners won't even realize this, but, silver came down to $12 an ounce. It's a lot of buying power for a lot of people, and that puts a lot of pressure on the market. Of course, the premiums over spot went up too, so that's another catch-all. So as more and more of this demand is met, obviously an increase of supply of different countries, as I mentioned, Perth, will help that. But hopefully, hopefully the premiums will come down closer to the spot area to help buyers collect more.
Well, it's always in uncertain times like this that people, like when the market crashes, when there's huge swings in the market like this, and people turn to the tangible assets. They want to hold their money in their hand. And so silver is such a great way to do that. Gold is too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but silver is that affordable one that the middle class guy can go out and buy. And it's fun too. Like when you start getting some silver eagles, or even if you start, dipping your chops into some collectible coins like Morgan silver dollars or something, it's exciting to hold that coin and to be like, wow, this is 130 years old. Where was this? Mm-hmm. Where has this been? Where has this coin been? And
right.
So it's exciting.
Well, there's people that are locking in on American silver eagles from the U.S. Mint. and the delivery date is 6 to 8 weeks out.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So that's real. That's the pent up demand right there.
Yeah,
it's pretty significant.
Yeah, and the cool thing about Silver Eagles is, because people ask me all the time, they're like, how can I buy silver, or how can I buy gold? How should I buy these precious metals? And the cool thing about Silver Eagles is, like, there is a higher premium over spot price. Like, you never pay spot price for your precious metals. Rarely do you do that.
Right.
But you could buy bars, you could buy just rounds, generic rounds. But the cool thing about Silver Eagles is they're trusted, and they're easy to liquidate, and they're harder to counterfeit. And so as the prices rise, there's going to be more counterfeiting and stuff like that. So you could trust the Silver Eagles. But they're very popular, and like you said, they're in high demand. So there's 6 to 8 weeks out?
6 to 8 weeks out in delivery. Most people don't even realize that the Silver Eagle program, which has gone on since 1986, and every Monday the Mint has an allocation that they distribute to 12 different authorized purchasers who are the global distributors of the coins. But that's since 1986. And since then, they've made nearly 600 million Silver Eagles. And there's an every Monday morning thirst for them still today.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's the popularity right there. I mean, if you were to say, I'm in the, well, honestly, and we can lead into this too, and that is, if you said you were in the cookie business and it was Dennis and Miles Fresh Cookies, and we opened it in 1986, and every Monday we had 10, let's just use the number 10,000 dozen available for sale, and every Monday they sold out and they got pre-ordered. We'd have the greatest business in the world, Dennis. We'd have the greatest bakery that could exist if we could do that. And ultimately, that's kind of the Silver Eagle market since 1986, where they literally, you can divide the weeks out since 1986. There's some average there overall for the 30-plus year program that's been. But it's just this endless supply coming out and demand. Some years higher than others, depending on price of silver and the economy, and the popularity and interest has grown since 1986. In 1986, the mintages were under 5 million coins, and in 2010 they were 45 million coins. So that of coins struck that particular year that were bought by the consumer, 45 million. In that period of time, it grew to in a year basis, basically, in a 24-year span, they grew from 5 million coins to 45 million coins per year.
Yeah.
So it's a phenomenal business.
It really is, and that's why. Well, they're not. That's why they don't really have the collectible value that like the old coins did, because back in the day they didn't make that volume of coins. So they made from a couple 100,000 to a couple million on an annual basis for each year of coins, and there was a lot less people in the world and a lot less demand. And the idea of having silver and gold was to back up our dollar. And so now we have less than 1% of the assets, the gold and silver, to back up our dollar, which is why our dollar is declining in value.
Right.
Yeah. And then also, like, when you talk about collectible coins, it really comes down to the availability of it and the rarity. And they're based on condition and rarity. And now they mint 2 billion coins of each denomination, so they don't have as much value. But in terms of silver, again, people like to hold those assets in their hand. I do, and I haven't invested in a lot of it in probably 8 or 9 years. And when I was in the business more, and when I bought it, it was like $40 an ounce for silver, and so my investment is not
sure
well. But at some point, it'll rebound.
Of course, and it obviously it takes the interest. It takes obviously world issues that happen. The interesting thing to watch right now is we're in the middle of the pandemic, which is probably one of the most unstable things that have ever happened modern times. I don't, I know the president talks about 1918 of the pandemic that was then, but if you think about it, Pearl Harbor, 9/11, pandemic, and it's not like any metals are racing as predicted, but people know that they need to have it.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that we've seen. I'm going to get you some. I want to get you some numbers at some point here, but the the pandemic hasn't sent silver from $12 to $24 because of demand.
Right.
I don't know if that'll happen throughout this or not. It's unpredictable to know. But that's yet to be seen.
I think we talked about it last time. There used to be rules on how the precious metals market went. It used to be you could follow the oil prices, and if oil went up, gold went up, and if oil went down, gold went down, and silver always followed gold. There was
we've got $22 to $25 a barrel oil through this. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to predict. I'm not going to project my opinion on it completely. But, I think there's something more going on here with the world pricing of oil. I think that there's definitely something going on there that we don't know what's going on. I don't have the answer. I'm not going to tell your listeners that I profess to absolutely know what's going on with that. But, this sub $25 oil a barrel. Obviously, that's going to be an economic strain on a lot of companies that even are in the Middle East or in this country, the fracking. It's going to affect those as we come out of this. So, and like I said, I would have thought gold and silver would have gone a lot higher during this. I know people thought early on when the stock market fell that people were selling their silver and gold to cover their losses. But yeah, I don't know. It's quite interesting to see that. I believe, and I'm going to say this, and I can correct it later if need be, but I believe between at least 3 of our U.S. depositories, we have about 8 to 10 trillion in gold.
Really, in value?
In value.
On current market prices?
Current market prices.
Interesting.
Now the cost would probably blow listeners away.
Yeah.
And that is, we've probably got sub $35 an ounce cost. Yeah. I actually think we're going to be going through a financial reset of some sort. I don't know all the workings of that. I think that obviously the $2 trillion bill that was just passed. I don't know if we're going to see the Federal Reserve, which is not part of the U.S. government, could potentially be a bankruptcy case. And I think people think, and that might be our best thing because we've been so controlled by the world banks and the central bank system, and we've been paying a lot of interest on the money for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's been a strangle noose on our economy and our people, and it's why we have the tax basis that we have. But with zero interest rates and so much negative happening to the central bank system, it might be the best medicine that we've ever had actually. And we'll see in the coming months or years what that is. But I think it might be sooner than later.
Yeah, that's really interesting stuff. And I used to talk about because we have so little assets to back up our debt. I used to say the only way out of it is war. If we do enter into a full war and we just start over, to wipe out our monetary system and start over, and that's highly unlikely. The other way is for what we do own to become more valuable.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's an all. I want to say that was a positive way to think about it, but those were proactive, what you thought were solutions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think majority of the people, if you had a room full of 100 people, that might be the conversation you have. But I don't think anybody in the room would have said, we're going to bankrupt the Federal Reserve. And I don't think many of your listeners are going to understand what I just said there.
Right.
That the Federal Reserve is not part of the U.S. government. And that's something that, listeners can go do some research on. But that's something that, you think about it, it's like, well, who wants to go to war? Nobody wants to go to war.
Right.
As far as creating value of your assets, it's like, well, you can't force value up.
Mm-hmm.
Nice try, but you can't make it happen.
Right.
And you can hope, you can wish upon a star, but it's not going to happen. And, and then I'm really talking about finances here. I'm not talking about politics, but, I think that if we ever were able to bankrupt the Federal Reserve, there would be a complete audit and we would know exactly all the deals they did against us. Yeah. So it'll be interesting. We'll see what happens and what comes out of that.
That would be interesting. I mean, yes, very interesting. Maybe we should leave it there.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I'll leave it. I didn't know we were going to go down that path at all. Really, I think what we had talked about a little bit the last time we spoke here was, marketing. And I'll tell you the story I tell a lot of people when I'm trying to help grow their business. And that is creating demand for your product. And I know that we all see lots, and I use consumer products a lot when I talk about marketing of coins. Coins are, though they're many times either rarity or a precious metal or a demand item, I still think they're a consumer product, but I think they're the best consumer product out there because it's like there's real value there after you buy it.
Yes.
You can buy a chair, a table, a purse, a wallet, a couch. You can get to use those things, but once they're used, and now they're somebody's old item. But with a silver or gold coin, they never change. They're always just that. And one of the reasons that I call this marketing program that I have, it's called the Oreo Cookie Marketing Program, and it's ultimately taking multiple products and driving them into different ways to collect them. And I don't know if you know the story of the Oreo Cookie Company, but it started in the 1920s. They had one cookie. And you may or may not remember this, but in 1975, you might be a little too young for it. They came out with their. Yeah, but you know what? If your mom let you have an Oreo cookie, they came out with their second brand, and that was the double stuff.
Double stuff, yeah.
Well, I know there's people that are going to watch this show and they're going to say, "What the hell was this guy talking about?" Well, they're going to run out to their grocery store and they're going to say, "He said there was 40 to 60 different kinds of Oreo cookies. Why?" They're the number one cookie company in the world today. And that is, they took one idea, didn't really change the recipe all that much. There's double stuff, there's triple stuff, there's 3 cookies, there's golden Oreos, there's holiday Oreos, there's, all the different holidays. To me, it's the one simplest way to look at marketing, taking your product and multiplying the number of, if it's a unit business that you're selling items, but you can take that mentality into a great success like the Oreo cookie and grow your business. I've done it with mine the same way. One of the things that I created in the 1990s was creating different labels for coin holders. Later, it basically went from very, very generic kind of off blue or white labels to, I created what was called the state flag program for the state quarters that came out in 1999. And I was trying to create a continuity of collecting the coin, collecting the state. You'd see the flag. It creates enthusiasm. Well, we only graded a lot more coins than we ever thought we would. And there was multiple people that were seeking the different states, and they only wanted them one way. It's no different than, making a unique coin. Taking a coin and making it unique with one individual autograph and making it a certain way to get it. It makes people chase after something. I was looking at it very naively in the beginning. It's funny, you create an idea and it morphs into, well, I didn't know I'd done that, but how did I do that? But I did it. But it also created, I was creating the idea of, instead of getting a facsimile autographed card with your coin, you'd get a certified coin with a label inside the holder with an authentic autograph. Not a printed autograph, but an authentic autograph. And, it's taken off like wildfire. Hundreds of thousands of coins a year are certified today with different designers, U.S. Mint directors, politicians, celebrities, people that have some tie to the coin that's in the holder some way or another. And it works. It creates that whole Oreo cookie marketing program, basically. And today, Numismatic Guaranty Corporation, NGC, world's largest certifier of coins, is also the world's largest provider of authentic hand-signed autographs. And who would have ever thought that a coin grading company would become that with autographs? There's obviously a lot of companies that do a lot of autographs, but nobody does more than NGC.
Yeah, that's a great story. I mean, what that sounds to me like it's creating renewed interest in your product and continue that trend to keep people interested in what you're selling. And so that's such a great concept. I love that. Before the show, we were talking about being excited in business, and like there's the money and then there's loving what you do, right? So it's like, are you motivated just by money? Because if so, that's going to wear off, and then you're just left doing something that's like, it's okay. And then money, when you don't have money, all you think about is money. Once you get money, you're like, it's all right. You have it. Now what? And
well, there's a real conflicting issue with that for me. Very conflicting issue with that statement, because here I am touching money every day, and I got to separate touching money, thinking to make money, and desiring and loving what I do.
Yeah.
So, and I got lucky, actually. I got very lucky, and I had a mentor tell me I was about 23 years old. And the thing that he had said to me was, enjoy what you do, the money will show up. And I kind of lived on those words from that point on. And I think I was telling you before we came on here, I still have my mind very convinced that, now that I've done this for, 36 years, okay, since obviously since the early 80s, but full-time for 36 years, the money's always showed up. I've never had I've never had a shortage. I don't have I'm not the person that has all these big wild desires of what I have to make me happy. I get to live well. I'm not a guy that has lots of toys because they are important to me. The money's always showed up. And so for me, I've always felt like it showed up in abundance. And, but the biggest thrill from, what I do, it's white tiger hunting. It's, for what I do to create ideas and programs to engage with somebody else to help them be successful. And, I know I was recently, at a nonprofit organization, and, I have an idea of how for them to make money. Now, they don't know all the ideas that I have on my head, nor do they know how it goes from point A to point Z. Unfortunately, I do. And that is, I know that, if you okay to do this with me and you allow me to use your organization's symbol or logo on either a label or the manufacturing of a legal tender coin, and the number of coins get struck and the number of coins get certified, and you make a certain amount each off of each one of them, that's how you'll get paid. And by the way, when you go back to the accounting people and they say, well, how much we don't have the money to come up with, or we don't want to come up with any money, you don't have to come up with any money. So they always look at me a little mysteriously like, so you're just going to give us a check at the end is what you're going to do. Is that what you're really saying? And it's like, yeah. Done that before. You can talk to this organization and that organization and ask them how the experience was. Was it the same experience that I'm describing to you now? And, quite honestly, even after this many years of doing it, you never can stop selling. You can never stop just basically telling what you are, what you can do, and what you're going to do, because you always have to convince the next person or different individual what you're all about. But, I've only made it easier on myself because, we're all naturally lazy. Nobody, these take a lot of effort, but, and I can tell you this, I take the lazy out because I built so many great relationships. I just always suggest somebody, either somebody recommended me to you, or you go talk to this person who had success. And quite honestly, that's my lazy way out. And that is, having great relations with people that can make something happen. And because I've happened to maybe help them along the way, or they know exactly how I perform. And it is constantly, don't ever let anybody tell you that it isn't about anything but relationship. Whereas, relationship obviously has proven past results, but also proves your intent and what you're going to do in the future. And, the relationship of, as I call it, pressing the flesh, I'm real good about, talking to people on the phone or communicating by email, but there's nothing better for me to go out and press the flesh with people so that they feel, taste, and know the story, and they knew it from me personally. That is going to be, regardless of all telecommunications, that is going to still be forever and a day the human nature of success, and that is that we gather and we do communicate. So I know we'll make it through the pandemic. I know that we'll be shaking hands at some point in time comfortably with people and, giving somebody a hug, but it is pressing the flesh that still makes us successful as humans in this country and globally.
Yeah. Wow. That was really profound. That was really great. And the message I get out of that is, one of the messages is that, love what you do and you never have to work a day in your life. Mm-hmm. And if you can love what you do and build relationships, because success in sales, whatever you're talking about there, it comes from the relationship and trust. And when you build that trust, and then people turn to you without thinking, oh, is this the right thing to do? They just know, oh, I have this relationship. And then on the other side of that comes the business and the success and the happiness and all the other, those things. Like, a lot of people focus on the money. They focus on the end result, and it's like, focus on the journey. Like, what are you doing to get there, to get the money, to get to the end? Are you enjoying your ride? It's about enjoying the ride. And
sure.
if you're doing something you love and you're being honest and trustworthy and building relationships along the way, you're going to get there.
Right. So, absolutely.
It's a great message, man. You kind of blew me away there for a second. But yeah, and especially
it wasn't scripted, just so you know, and your listeners can know that too. That's been my makeup. I'll tell you what, when I grew up, I was 5 years old, and people will tell you in the neighborhood I grew up in, they will tell you the first person they met in the neighborhood was me, because I was the welcoming committee. So I'd see somebody move in, I'd go introduce myself. That was 5 years old. So, at 5 years old, I know we've had some great impressions in our life, but some of that's, it's in our DNA, I guess, to a degree too.
Yeah, I think so. And that, like, when I started out in sales, there's different ways to touch people, and there's calling, where you go in person and you go in the front door and you call on people, cold calling. And then there's cold calling on the telephone, and then there's emails. And I was never good on emails and telephone calls. I like to go in person. I want to look people in the eye and shake their hand, which we can't do right now. And but I think that's the hardest thing, I think, for me, is like, we need that contact, that human contact. And that's the hardest thing right now with this quarantining, this pandemic, is like, we're stuck inside. But I will say that there's no better time to be alive than right now, where we have this technology, where you're in Houston, I think, or just outside of, or you're in Texas. And
yeah, I'm just outside. I'm 30 miles outside of Austin.
Yeah, and I'm in Colorado. And we can still sit here and have this human contact as best we can. We're having a great conversation. We've been able to build this relationship, which I love, and it's awesome. And I feel connected. And I think we all need that. And I think it's important for, people are going to look on their phone and watch this, or they're going to do whatever. But I think it's important to, like, go out and get connected, find ways to be connected with people, and continue to do that. Don't just watch other people get connected. you go out and get connected, because we need that contact. Otherwise, you start sitting around listening to your brain, which in my case is really dangerous. I was told I shouldn't go up in my brain without adult supervision.
Yeah, it's that itty bitty committee that can get you in trouble up there.
Yes, that's right. It has gotten me in lots of trouble. That's right. I just remembered we had that same background there. So anyway, but yeah, getting back to just being excited about what you do. And if you're not, then find something to get excited about.
Sure.
And then the success follows. So that was such a great message, Miles. I'm like super excited. Maybe we can continue this another time.
Sure.
And do another episode sometime.
Yeah, like I said, everything I've said about whatever I can do to help, I help. And after that, it's just coordinating time to do it. And, obviously we're in the midst of time, but, when I'm not traveling, I'm home, and it's easy to do. And if I'm on the road sometime, I'll do it. So, I'm committed to helping.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think that's the way to be, is like, be of service. There's so many different, I did a podcast episode on how to stay healthy and calm during this pandemic. And I did my 10 tips. Everybody has a whole bunch of tips to do. One of them is like create purpose, make sure you're doing something, and then stay calm, meditate, exercise, try to stay healthy. And then what was the 10th one? Oh, I just had a little brain fart there, but it is just like stay connected, have that connection with people. And then we're going to get through this and realize that there is an end. It's like, this isn't permanent. This is just like, it's an unfortunate thing that we're going through. And we're going to realize at the other side of it that there was a purpose, that we did go through it. But right now,
one of the things that I've done to kind of keep it positive, have you ever had that conversation when you talk to people that, I don't know if it's Europe or Australia, where they have a certain amount of vacation time that's like much more expanded than our own?
Yeah. Europe.
Okay. Europe has a much bigger, let's say the common person gets a week or 2 weeks off a year in our country, which obviously is I don't know what the national average is. Okay. Obviously I've done what I've done for a long time, and, I have a accrued time off each year that I gain. But, let's say it's, 2 to 3 weeks at the max for most people. There's been a lot of years that people didn't get 2 to 3 weeks off. Maybe this was that, that 30 to 45 day period in our lives that we were supposed to say reset. That's
right.
And I think that's going to be one of the biggest words besides pandemic to come out of here. That is, there's a little bit of life reset going on. Maybe both economically, personally, spiritually for people. But I think that, it's kind of like, okay, we caught up with Europe on time off finally. Okay. We've been owed it for years. We're obviously this big American machine that's, always so powerful and strong, but we only get 2 to 3 weeks of vacation a year, being that way, where the Europeans get, 4 to 6 weeks or whatever the number is. You know what? You got to turn it into a positive.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that it's definitely, there's a lot of awful stuff going on, and there's people that are very sick and dying, and that's really horrible. But I think that you're right. We have to put a positive spin on it. And I think that what happened is that the world got really big, really fast, really stressed out, full of fear, and we forgot how to care for each other. And I think that all of this is God saying, whatever God is, it's God saying, hey, you guys need to slow down for a little while. You need to learn how to take care of each other again and love each other again, because we forgot how to do that. Everybody's worried about their cars and their mortgage and how much money they're making and their technology and what their friends are saying on Facebook, that they forgot to value with the most important thing, and that's your relationships and love.
Yeah, I've noticed it in my own neighborhood. I'm usually the guy that always waves and says hello to anybody. That's how I'm wired. And I've always been amazed when somebody just gives you that resting bitch look and not even responding.
What do you want?
Yeah. It's like, I'm just the guy walking by waving and hello. That's all.
That's all I want.
But but I've noticed in this whole thing, because people are out, social distancing, walking with their significant other or alone, and maybe one of their dogs, but actually most people are waving.
Yeah. I was this morning. I went on a walk and it was snowing. It's cold here this morning, but the sun's out again. But I was noticing that too. And I always wave too. But this morning I was consciously being aware of waving and smiling. I was going, everybody that walks by, I wave and smile. And then most people smile back. There's the couple that are texting that aren't looking at me, but the rest are they're smiling and waving back, because you never know when you're going to be a light in somebody's day. Just smile and wave.
I actually I was trying to pull up the
Oh yeah, you're rubbing it in. It's definitely perfect and awesome. I see.
And it's a little humid, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Miles sent me a picture of his backyard the other day, and it was all nice and green. The sun was shining, and
springtime in Texas. It doesn't get any better from the places I've lived. I don't know. I spent 20 years in California, and everybody says the weather's always great. Of course it is. There's some boredom with that too, by the way. Yeah. It's just kind of like it's so consistent. You get spoiled by it, But springtime, that whole change, the birds coming out, they're screaming, the birds are chirping, and everything's turning green.
Yeah, it is nice to have change. Colorado has 4 seasons, and they're all fairly mild compared to what they can be. I've lived in Northeast Vermont I spent about almost 10 years actually it was more than 10 over time, and it's cold. It's you get all the seasons, but in the winter, it's cold. There were days when it was minus 40 without the wind chill. That was the air temperature was minus. Mm-hmm. And I don't like that crap anymore.
No.
I'm a fair weather person now. I like when especially now that I don't have hair to keep my head warm. I like when it's if it dips below 50 degrees, I start getting crabby.
You start investing in hats, right?
Yeah, I have them. Yeah, but anyway, Miles, awesome conversation. I appreciate you taking the time. Great.
Glad to do it.
Yeah, and I'd love to do it again sometime.
You got it. Look forward to it.
Everybody, thanks for listening, and we'll talk soon. Have a great day today.
All righty.
Bye for now.